This is James Lutton, delighted to be joined today with Aria Wild. Aria, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for asking. Massive fight week for yourself. You're fighting Cris Cyborg, who, if anyone knows, she's probably one of the greatest female fighters in MMA history. So it's a big, big fight and a big opportunity for yourself. Before we get on to this fight this weekend, I want to talk about your journey through boxing. How did it begin?
So I did a little bit of kickboxing around 10 years ago, nothing to a competitive level. It was literally like 4 or 5 sessions. I quite enjoyed it, but at the same time, I didn't feel like it was quite for me. So I stopped and then I started PTing after that. And one of the gyms that I landed in does like free weight training, boxing, MMA, and I started hitting some pads with one of the PTs. Again, just had a couple of sessions and then dropped it off again. But my turning point for me was last March. I saw a post on Facebook looking for a ring girl for a local show in Bournemouth. And one of my friends tagged me and they said, look, why don't you get involved? You're modelling, it would be really good for your portfolio. And I thought, do you know what, sod it, let's just give it a go. I was watching the fights and I felt like I was on the wrong side of the ropes. I didn't want to be sitting there, well, walking around with my card. I felt like I needed to get in the ring and fight. I ring girl for another few more shows, and each show I was ring girling for, I thought I need to get involved. So I was training at the gym group in Poole, and the manager there is one of my old managers myself. And I said, look, can you do some pads with me? He said, yeah, it's fine. So it was just really basic straight punches and hooks, nothing too technical. And one of the coaches from the show that I was ring girling on messaged me and said, look, if you want to do boxing, competitively or, fighting, you need to make sure you get yourself a proper coach. And I thought, right, I feel like this has been brought to me for some reason or the other. Let's just pick up a session with him and see how we go. I started hitting some pads with him, and he said, look, you've got something to work with. Obviously, I've got some bad habits that I had from when I had done other things with other coaches. And after training with him for a few weeks, there was a show coming up in Bournemouth that I was ring girling for. And I said, look, I want to fight. And he said, you've got 5 weeks till the show. And I said, do you think it's impossible? And he was like, it's not impossible, but 5 weeks is tight. And I said, fuck it, let's just go for it. And then that was it. I just threw myself in there. And since then, my life's changed quite drastically. I've gone from modeling full time to now boxing and training, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And that transition's just been incredible for me.
Talk about that transition in, you mentioned also use PT and also use a model, so you had to stay in shape.
Yeah.
But that difference between the training aspect of training to just stay in shape and training to be fight ready.
Oh yeah, it's totally different. I've got a background of sports, so I did gymnastics for 13 years prior to having my son. So I did gymnastics for 13 years. I did ballet for 8 years. I've done track and field, done a little bit of bodybuilding and swimming. So I've always been in and around sports. I've always trained throughout the whole of my life. So it was just it was almost like putting all my favorite things together, if that makes sense. Like, I love doing my sprints, shadow boxing, that's almost like dancing for me. It was like I had picked everything from each sport that I've done and put it all together. I always used to think, oh, gymnastics is the hardest sport I've ever done, but boxing is, yeah, up there with the most challenging sport I've ever done.
Talk to me about the adrenaline rush. Firstly, the adrenaline of getting in the ring for the first time and competing,
Oh
but
my
also
God.
the adrenaline where you say you was a ring girl and you wanted to be in the ropes with your gloves on. What was that adrenaline rush like?
So when I was ring girling, the first time I did it, I thought I felt a little bit nervous because it's just walking into the unknown. I hadn't done it before, and I hadn't actually gone to watch any boxing shows. So it's the first show I'd ever been at. And I was speaking to one of the fighters, and on before he walked out, and I said, "How do you feel?" And he said, "I can't explain the adrenaline and the thought process that I'm going through on the way to the ring." He said, I can't explain it. And I thought, I want to feel what he's feeling, and I know I will only ever feel that if I do it myself. And nothing can quite prepare you for the first time you walk out. Everyone's so different with their nerves. The first show, I actually cried upstairs. I thought, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know how this is going to go. Obviously, I want to win, but if I don't win, then I have to just accept it. But I'm just more nervous than walking out than actually fighting itself. As soon as I'm in the ring, I feel like I'm at home. I felt really comfortable and relaxed. Same with my last fight, but the walkout was much better. I was actually proper buzzing for it because I'd done it once before. I thought, I actually love this. You got your favourite music on, you got all your friends and family and your fans there cheering for your name. It feels incredible. It's phenomenal. Like, I've not felt that in any other sport.
You mentioned you cried before your first ring walk. Was that fear? Was that nerves, anxiety, happiness that you're about to go and do what you're going to do? What was that?
I think it was a combination of everything. I think the biggest part for me was feeling really proud. Something that I have thought about doing for years. Like, even if in my years of gymnastics, I felt like I didn't belong to that sport. I always looked at boxing and thought I'd love to do that, but my parents had heavily invested me in doing gymnastics, so I felt like I couldn't just dip off and do boxing. So it was a sense of realization, like, this is all, everything that you've dreamed for is here. It was a little bit of nerves as well, but it was more just, I just felt so incredibly proud to think, do you know what, fuck what other people think. Like, if this is what you want to do, then you've just got to go for it. You've got to do yourself proud. Don't worry about anyone else, they'll always be proud of you anyway. You've got to do it for yourself.
Absolutely. And how many fights have you had now in the ring?
So I've had two.
Two.
So I'm still very early into my boxing career in comparison to, a lot of people that have been doing it for a long time, especially, Cris Cyborg. She's been in the fight game for probably best part of the whole of her life. I can't really compare my training and my experience to hers because she is just elite. She is elite. She's right at the top of her game. But the growth and the progress I've made in the 9 months that I've been training properly is incredible. And my coach, who's my partner, he trains the pros. He said every session you're coming from strength to strength. Watching you spar, he said each session it's like I'm looking at a new fighter. I just seem to have taken to it quite nicely, which is really nice. And my sparring partners, each time I come back to spar them, they're like, I don't know how you do it, but you just get, it's not even a little bit better. They're like, it's so much better. And I said to them, I think because I've wanted to do it for so long and I've not done it for whatever reason. I'm just turned 34 as well. I know I don't have a great amount of time on my side. I've just taken it with both hands, and I'm like, do you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this to the best I can and invest my full self in it, because it's fighting at the end of the day. Yeah, okay, you can turn up to a sprint session and, not really feel it, but when you're stepping into the ring, whether you're sparring or fighting, you need to fully be present, because you're fighting for your life, especially a fight like with Cyborg. It's huge. Like, I'm never going to have a fight like this, so I'm just like, just want to go in there my best.
Talk to me about this fight. How did it come about? Why did you take it? Because on paper, it's absolutely bonkers.
Wild. So
Absolutely.
I had my last fight on the DKN Plus show, which is run by Danny McLaren. He's become a very good friend of mine and my partner, who's, as mentioned earlier, is my coach. And after that, my profile started growing on Instagram, but more from a boxing following. And CFN started following me, and they messaged me saying, hey, look, we're coming to England soon. We'd love to have you on the show. Are you interested? And I said, absolutely. Messaged my partner with all of the details. He manages all my sparring and training and everything like that. So they got into contact with Peps, and he asked for opponents, and they didn't come back. So we thought, maybe it's not the right show for us. We've got the date free anyway, so maybe we'll just go and watch, see what it's about, because it's a promotion that neither of us had been on before. And then one day Danny messaged Peps and said, "Look, I've got an amazing opportunity for Aria. You don't have to take it. It would just putting the feelers out there." And we said, "Right, okay, let's hear it." And the way it was presented to us was a exhibition show with Cyborg. So that's amazing. Obviously, you're going to want to go through all 4 rounds. It's an opportunity for her to display her hard work in boxing, my hard work in boxing, and just showcase our skills and put on a great show for everyone. With it being Cyborg's first time coming to England to fight as well, it's an opportunity for her to build up her England fan base. And we thought, right, it's amazing. Let's look at the contract. So we started looking through it, and we thought, right, there's nothing about an exhibition, nothing about 16-ounce gloves, there's 10-ounce gloves. And straight away we were like, right, we need to actually have a think here. And my coach obviously was like, look, I've not fought in 10s before. And he said, it's not that I don't want you to fight in 10s. I don't think you're ready. He said, because you are ready. It's just Cris Cyborg is huge. Like, she's actually changed combat, combat history for women. And, she's up there as the best. So it's not that it's not that I think that you're out of your depth. It's just the opponent that we're looking at, because it's not an exhibition. She's going to go in there. She's going to want to take your head off. And I was like, right, let's go away and have a look. He went and did all his research into her boxing and her MMA and everything like that, as a coach does. We just continued looking through the contract, and I said, look, what is the worst that can happen? I go in there, I get knocked out. I get knocked out by the greatest UFC, champion. Like, who can honestly say I've got into the ring with Cris Cyborg? There's not many people that can say that. And I said, how many people has this been offered to? And they said it's been offered to loads of women, and everyone's been turning it down. No one wants it. And I thought, right, but realistically, how different are we in terms of boxing? And he said it's a winnable fight. It is a winnable fight. He said, but it's going to be a fucking challenge, but it is a winnable fight. And we literally signed the contract. It would have been 3 weeks ago this Thursday. So it was very short notice. And I said, look, if you truly believe that it's a winnable fight, even though it's going to be a challenge, I love a challenge, and maybe this is what I need to put myself on the map as a boxer. Like, I've grown my account as a model. I still enjoy that, but I'm passionate about boxing, and I want to see how far I can take my boxing, because people think, oh, because you're 34 and you've only been doing it for 8 or 9 months, you'll never really get anything from it. And I want to prove to myself that I can do it. So we agreed to take the fight in 10-ounce gloves. We got 4 rounds of 2 minutes. And yeah, I'm just absolutely buzzing for it. For the opportunity to fight someone to that high standard will be incredible. It will 100% be the best fight of my whole career. So I thought, what's to lose?
Well, you mentioned, win, lose or draw. Do you think your stock as a boxer rises regardless?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And what do you think that would do for you going forward? Because, you're now the one who's one of the only ones who have taken that fight with Cyborg.
Yeah.
And I say, regardless of the result, probably puts you in a good position to dictate who you can fight next, and potentially other promotions as well.
Yeah, that's the that would be ideal. My coach said also it could have a negative impact where people don't want to come forwards to fight me, if so we have to prepare ourselves for both scenarios. But fingers crossed, other promoters will want me on their shows, and yeah, can keep bringing me tough, hard fights. I'm not about just going on the biggest, most known shows. I'm happy to fight on white collar shows that aren't as big. I love boxing so much, like I love fighting. So as long as the opponent's right and it's a good promotion, I'm happy to fight whoever, really.
Obviously, your coach and your partner, he said that it's a winnable fight for yourself. I don't think he probably would have put it forward for you if he didn't think it was. But also looking at on Misfits, for example, Paige Van Zandt, former UFC fighter, fought Elle Brooke, obviously influencer, model, not a fighting background. And she got a
Yeah.
10 out of this, and she put in a really good performance, dropped Paige Van Zandt. And it really shocked everybody. Everybody thought that she was going to get wiped out inside a round. Does that give you confidence as well, seeing what Elle Brooks done over there with Paige Van Zandt?
Yeah, massive confidence because I'd literally just signed my contract and then I watched Elle Brooks fight and I thought, do you know what? That really goes to show you when it comes to fighting, it's just that one shot can change the whole round. It can change the whole fight, and it's given me so much confidence. Yeah, I just think massive respect to Paige and Elle, but for Elle again, like you said, to come from a non-fighting background, she's been boxing I think a couple of years now, to change her life around and to get into the ring with Paige and drop her in the first round. It's like, fuck, what an inspiration. It's given me massive confidence and big motivation. So, yeah, I feel like that was almost meant to happen for me to get to where I am, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And just
Yeah.
last question from me: what do you want to get out of boxing long term? You keep mentioning your age, 34, but for you, what is the end goal in the sport?
The end goal is just to keep getting more challenging opponents. I just want to see how far I can take it. I haven't got a person in mind, a particular name or person as to who I want to fight, but I just want to see how far I can take this. I'd love to travel with boxing. That's one thing I would really love to do. So if I could travel and box, then that would be a dream come true.
Absolutely. Well, I wish you the best of luck Saturday night. I'll be watching.
Thank you.
Aria, thank you for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
No worries at all.